21 Pilots' album Scaled and Icy came out in 2021 and wasn't met with great reception from fans or audience members. While the album wasn't a complete flop, it definitely wasn't what people came to expect from the band. But if you go back and listen to it, I think it might genuinely be one of the best albums they've released. Maybe not for the sounds that they have in it or the lyrics behind it, but mostly that the story that they're able to tell just using the music. And I don't think this album really had a chance to find its right audience because it got given up on so soon. I guess you could say it had no chances. Anyway, I want to go over all the songs on this album, the lyrics, the music, what makes it work, and what might have not made it work so much with fans. And I want to go over specifically the story that they're able to tell just using the music. So if you've watched a lot of the other videos and there's so much lore and stuff being thrown around, all these things you don't understand, this one is going to be strictly stuff that you can pull from the music. Okay, and if that sounds interesting, let's go ahead and get started with the first song, Good Day. Oh. I'm not moving the camera, I'm staying here. So this song is our first introduction to the album as a whole, and it starts off with little bits of birds chirping, a nice sort of ambient sound, and then we get some super bouncy piano, all bright and happy. It sounds a bit like a standard pop song that you might sort of expect to hear, which you might not be expecting if you'd listened to the band's other works before this. It sounds all perfectly normal until you start listening to the lyrics. One of the first lyric that we get in the whole album and this song is this: I can feel my saturation leaving me slowly. Well, so when I think about this, I think of like someone who's sick and they look all like drained of their color and like gray and like skin is all washed out. That's a pretty like serious image to start off this bright poppy sounding song with. So we're starting off with quite the contrast here for the first song, and as it goes along it keeps kind of talking about these things that you wouldn't really expect to hear in a poppy song. There's sort of a disconnect between the music we're hearing and the lyrics that are being talked about. We'll start to see some more of that in the next song, Choker. So when we get to this song, it starts off with some 80s sounding drums and instrumentals to go with it, and defeated sounding singing. It almost feels like we've kind of come down from where we just were prior, but the music is still very upbeat and poppy. The singer in this song is talking about how it's over and has been over since the very beginning. And one line that keeps getting repeated throughout this song is "Nobody's coming for me." And go ahead and keep that in your back pocket because we'll want to remember that for later. So put up the Mickey Mouse surprise tool meme, I guess. And again with this one, we are seeing the big disconnect between the poppy sounding backing instrumentals and the lyrics that sound kind of depressing and sad. What's going on here? And this is the first song to have a rap on the album. I don't know about everybody, but when I think of a 21 Pilots song, it's usually going to have some bit of a rap. And when we get to it at the very end, it's not the kind of rap you would expect. It's almost like a slow slam poetry over some gentle music in the background, which is again is completely not what we'd expect from this or the lyrics that we're hearing as well. The vibes for this song and the album as a whole, as we're starting to see, just continue to have this disconnect, and that disconnect continues with the next song, Shy Away. Surprisingly, I think this is the biggest one actually off of the album, which I thought it was another one that we'll see later, Saturday, but I guess it's this one, so that's interesting. And this one really continues a lot of the stuff that we saw from the other one. It continues with that same sort of 80s poppy sound and the upbeat lyrics at first, but then once you start to dig into them, you get a little more suspicious. And there's one lyric I really want to draw attention to. It seems almost purposely nonsensical when you hear it at first. It's "Don't circle the track, just break the cycle in half." Now when I hear that, I think of a track as like a music track or like a record or something like that. So why would the singer be telling the audience not to listen to the music that they're listening to? That goes against the whole point of making it. And again, it's just kind of tying in those pieces of like something else is going on in this album that you're not quite sure of yet, but these little pieces get sprinkled here and there. And these are just the top of them. If you go in and listen to it, you'll find way more that connects. So the first song that starts off the album was just like a normal one, and then the two, Shy Away and Choker, were both released to the radio. So it makes sense that those would be the more poppy ones, but we get a little bit of a shift here. We start to see a bit more of what's going on with the next song, The Outside. This song sort of drops the same 80s vibe we've been working with. It's in some kind of range, but I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it. And the first lyric that we get hit with in this song is "I'm already bored." So the singer is just pretty much admitting straight up to us that this doesn't want to be like making this music or something like that. We can already hear that, okay, The things that were happening before in the album, we're bored and tired of, and we're already moving on after only 3 songs. Continues with that line, I'm pretty sure I've seen this one before. So it kind of makes you think, is like the pop music that's too predictable for the person writing it? What's going on here? If you don't want to write it, just don't write it. But then it drops back into the lyrical patterns that we've seen before with lines like stand in line or not along. And the main singer feeling like he's on the outside, somewhere you don't want to be. This is another song where we actually get a rap, and it's a bit more of something that you would expect to hear from the band, which sort of makes sense because this song is pulling back a bit of that poppy sound that we've had throughout the rest of the album. And another interesting thing is happening with this song. When you go to listen to it, when you go from the first 3 to this one, you'll notice that this one almost feels a bit less saturated. It's not just his body that has the saturation being left slowly like we saw from the beginning. It's the music as well. It's this music that we're listening to right now. And see, we're about 4 songs in, and you're really starting to see why I think this album is so good. Because all the stuff that we've been able to figure out from the album so far, this is just the music. There is no extra music videos, there's no weird websites you have to go into to find all the lore, watch a bunch of recap videos. This is just the music. You can put this on a car ride and start figuring out all of this just listening to it. Anyway, enough being on the outside. It's time we go inside with the next song. Oh, I don't think that translates. Saturday. And we're back to the poppy stuff. This song is like the most poppy one that we've had so far. At least to me it seems. I'd say it's probably that because this is like the only song off this album that I remember hearing, and it was always on the radio. I remember listening to it and thinking like, oh, this song is just like the pure poppiest thing. And I think this one's kind of unfortunate to have been played on the radio a lot because when you listen to it, there's not a lot of this kind of story that gets built that we've seen from like the other songs with like these hints to other things. There was really only one lyric that I could find that kind of fit into this like story they were building with like the conflicting themes of the poppiness and the lyrics, and it was life moves slow on the ocean floor. I can't feel the waves anymore. That line just kind of made me think of like maybe hitting rock bottom or something like that, but that's pretty much like the only line in this song that kind of makes you think, oh, something else is going on here. But when there's only the one line, you don't really look into it that much, and if you're just hearing it on the radio, you're not going to be listening to the whole rest of the album and getting all the context. I think I went a bit too fast. I do find it a bit interesting though that the last song, The Outside, was one that was kind of pulling back the layer a bit, sounded less saturated from what we had been hearing, and seemed to be a little bit more honest, just a bit. We get to the next song and the poppiness has doubled twofold. It's like, what's going on here? Clearly something's happening. And you'll also notice that even though this one, the lyrics are quite poppy and stuff, the sound is still a bit less saturated than what we would have noticed from the starting songs. But you know, maybe it's good it had all that poppy stuff that the radio loves to eat up, because if it didn't, I bet the radio station would have never took it. Or never take it. This one seriously feels like it comes out of left field story-wise. We've been dealing with these songs that I've kind of been talking about, like staying in line, kind of things like that, just kind of going with the pattern. And then this one is a song about standing up to your oppressors and never taking what they give you. The song doesn't really like fit with what we already have and what's going to come after it, and doesn't really like fit in a cool subversive way when you think about it either, because pretty much like the whole song is talking about like not taking these stuffs and standing up for yourself. Okay, so I said I would try to stay away from the extra lore stuff for this video, but there are 3 little pieces that I want to give you. They're just super short and they will help kind of contextualize some of the things that I think why this song could still fit into the kind of the story that we're building. Okay, it's just going to be a couple of names and the rest of the stuff we're going to glean from the album, so it'll be okay. Okay, so there's 2 really important groups of people kind of in their story that we know from the past albums. There's the bishops, which are the bad guys, and they have deep voices. Got that? That'll be important, very important later on. There's another group called the Banditos. They're the good guys. They're trying to help the main singer. So the 2 groups are kind of fighting with each other and the singer's sort of caught in the middle. That's all you really need to know. So when I think of this song, it's like, well, why is he telling us to stand up against the authorities when the rest of the song has kind of been for it, right? Well, I think it could also be saying stand up against the other team. So instead of standing up against the bishops, the bad guys, it might be telling us to stand up against the banditos, the good guys, kind of a subversion like we've seen with the rest of the album. So to be fair, to make that conclusion, you would need the names to pair up with it, but I still think you can figure out the groups just from listening to the album. Just a bit easier to use the names for now. And it's really cool when you think about it this way, because you can listen to the song either way and kind of still see it line up with either perspective. So it does still kind of fit, even though it doesn't seem like it would at first. Alright, Mulberry Street. So when we get to this one, you seriously start to notice how desaturated the sounds of the songs are starting to become. And they really don't reach the same levels we've seen at the beginning, like, ever again. It's like it almost feels gray just listening to it. It's wild, like, how they were able to make that sound like a color. This song is mostly about just enjoying the small moments of life and kind of cherishing them when they come. But there's one lyric that sticks out as really weird. It's in the first verse. It's, "You can have the weekends, we will live between them." Okay, let's rewind to just a few songs ago. A whole song about the day of a weekend called Saturday. The whole song before on Saturday was talking about how awesome and cool and awesome Saturday was, and now they're telling us that they don't even want Saturday? And you'll notice they're seeming to be more honest in this one, in a song that's sounding a lot more gray or desaturated. I wonder what's going on there. So we go through the whole song, and it's just pretty nice talking about enjoying like the small things and stuff, and then we get to the bridge, and we get a bit of a big change. And if you listen to that part where the instruments kind of drop out and it's just like the percussion, you'll notice in the background deep voices singing along with it, and we know what that means, so not good. So and that part just keeps showing us how connected this album really is, which is super cool, and we'll see that even more with the next song, Formidable. I'm so biased towards this song because when I was at my band camp, I made like a video about it 2 years ago, but not the most recent one. They played this song in the cafeteria one day, so now I think about getting food there every time it comes on. It's so good. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to kind of say that kind of is building along with our story for this one. If you don't know, every album that 21 Pilots releases, they have a song. It's kind of like a love song the singer writes to his wife, and that's this one on here. It still definitely fits the theme of feeling less saturated and stuff like that, but there's not really a super lot of new stuff to pull from it, but I think it's good for reinforcing what we've already had. We're continuing the same themes to really build upon it, and it's just good. It's a good time. I guess if you're thinking about what we've kind of already built upon this song, kind of talking honestly versus just talking, like we've seen with the poppier stuff, having a love song is more of like a real emotion that you could kind of pull on, and doing that, you have to be kind of honest to write that. So I guess there's your connection. Alright, so Bounce Man. This song is the one right before the climax, the big part of the album that we've been waiting for to see what all these little pieces tie together, and we'll notice that this is the grayest song that we've had to point, the least saturated one. The instrumentals are a lot slower and drawn out, and there's these groaning background vocals as well. The song is the singer talking to his friend, talking about that no matter what's happened or what he's done, he'll support him and help get him through, which is a super honest song that we've seen probably the most up to this point. We think back to The Outside, the song from earlier in the album, where the main message was to stay in line and just kind of keep going. This song, he's directly telling him to bounce away or to get out of where he is. That's why this album is so fun, because all the stuff that we figured out, we have just done through listening to the music. Again, that's so cool. And as we're listening to this, the question kind of starts to pop up into your head. Is someone making him do this? Because he keeps contradicting himself and making these poppy sounding stuff, but then not making the poppy sounding stuff. So what's going on? And I kind of already spoiled it by saying there are bad guys in this one, but we're going to see that at the climax of the next song that we're going to look at, No Chances. This is it, the big climax that we have been waiting for, the entire album, the moment where it all finally comes crashing down and we see what's been going on behind the scenes, all the little Easter eggs leading to this song. It starts off with this good bass line, kind of similar to what we know about the bad guys having a bassy voice, and then we get some high notes up at the top that sounds like an alarm going off, like something's going down. And then the beat drops and the voices come in singing, "We come for you, no chances." This is quite a different place than from where we started in the album. And one interesting thing I'd like to note here is that, remember from the beginning, the second song, Choker, the main kind of idea was nobody's coming for me, which is completely contrasted in this version from what we're hearing. We get two rap sections in this one that sound a lot more like what we'd expect from a 21 Pilots song. And it really feels like the singer's no longer trying to kind of bat around this idea of slowly hiding in messages. It's all out there. It feels like these two forces are just coming together to battle it out in this song. And it's such a cool visual. And the chorus comes and kind of changes from this red sound, and it's a bit more light and airy. And we hear gently in the back vocals saying "run away," like what we've heard from the last song, where he's telling his friend to flee. And this one is just so cool because everything that you've been thinking about at this point in the album has just come together into the one song, confirming like any of the theories you have. And then when you go back and you listen to the album again with this one in mind, you start to see how it all connects. And that's so cool. This is the song where you hear that they're singing with the deep voices, and that's where you know, oh, these guys are probably the villains who have the deep voice. So that's where we got that from. But now you just know the name of what they're called for bishops. But we have one more song to look at here, because even though this is the climax of the album, we have to look at the fallout that happens after this. And we'll see that here with Redecorate. Redecorate is the last song on the album and gives us a breath of fresh air to everything that we've been through. The music in this one almost has a cool feel to it, like when you're in a busy room for too long and you step outside, the coolness of the air, the calmness of the street. The instrumentals in this one have an almost out of tune sound to them, like the instruments themselves are tired from everything that we've been through. And this song sounds a lot more like what you'd expect from a 21 Pilots song. We have a lot of rapping in it, and the rapping has that same sort of angst that you might expect from their other albums. I think the biggest thing that this song is getting at is trying to move on in a safe, productive way, because this song hops from different perspectives of people as it goes throughout it. Maybe it's the perspective of the friend from Bounce Man, or the people in line from the outside, or maybe it's the people who he's been leaving all these hints for throughout the album about never taking it, not to stand in line, and to break the cycle in half. Maybe it's you and me. So hopefully now that we've gone through everything, you can hopefully see why I think this album works so well. The storytelling in it is unlike any of the other ones, really. While it might not have the same production value as Trench, or the heartfelt lyrics of Vessel, or the underrated gems that Regional at Best has, this one still has a lot that's worth looking into, and a lot more than just the poppy exterior that you might have. And the way that you can extract all of this, the stuff that we've been over pretty much just from the music, is so cool. And then if you decide to look a little bit into the lore that they actually put in, you can expand it even more than just what's in the music. I think the other ones are still pretty good about telling their story, but I just don't like how it's all in kind of other places. It is still in the music and you can find the connections, but it's just a lot harder to find. This one's right up there, and you can find so many little pieces, a certain instrument being used here, or a certain lyrical callback in this song that you hadn't noticed before. So hopefully if you've listened to the album before, you can give it another listen with a bit of a new take on it, or if you haven't listened to it, give it one now, you know? It's a little shorter than most albums. It's less than an hour or so. Well, thanks for checking out the video, everybody. It's been a while since I did another 21 Pilots video. Last one was about a year ago when I tried to figure out all the Clancy lore with no context. So if you want to see like my first introduction into their music, you can look at that. But it's pretty cool to do another lore video in kind of a different way than what I've seen other channels do it. Instead of just like a deep dive into the lore, hopefully it's a bit more digestible if you don't know like all the pieces, not overwhelming. Also, doing all the background music for this one was so fun. I tried to do a cover of every song, and some of them turned out definitely better than others, but it's still a fun challenge to do like every song on here. Anyway, thanks for checking that out. If you want to check out the other video I did, it should be on the end screen here at the end. But until then, Bye!